Texas Governor Greg Abbott is calling for the arrest of anyone who obstructs immigration enforcement. The comments come after a video aired on Fox News showing a suspect ramming ICE vehicles in a San Antonio Walmart parking lot before being arrested. Abbott labeled the suspect a criminal illegal alien and claimed organized groups are interfering with ICE operations. LULAC, Texas responded, saying the governor is promoting fear and militarization. There have been reports of an increase in ICE activity across San Antonio. What do you think? Should those who obstruct law enforcement be arrested? Give us a call, 713-440-8870.
Okay. In the broadest picture of all of this right now, I am just sad. Mm-hmm. I am just heartbroken to watch the way these stories are unfolding. I know that we want to talk about what Greg Abbott just said, but I think it's hard to divorce it from the rest of what we're seeing. And I can't help but wonder where civility went. Yes, I am not saying that, it's okay to be illegal or undocumented and flaunting, whatever they're saying. But the way people are being apprehended, the way it is you are being taken into custody before you have been processed, if that's the right word for it, before they know what your legal status is, before they know what your situation is, the fear that this is putting in communities. I am saddened by all of this. I also do not believe that we should be causing disobedience on a physical level that can harm individuals on either side. And so I know that a lot of people say, well, you got to fight fire with fire. But if you fight fire with fire, eventually everything is burned down. And we need to find a way to, those that are against what's happening, to protest peacefully, but to have your voices heard. And we need the folks that are in the communities doing this legal work, this enforcement work that they're calling it, to find a civil way, civil, I guess that's the best word, civil way to do it, and to do it in a way that still shows respect for individuals. We're still all human beings. We still have some rights. And okay, I'm done talking. You know where I'm at on this.
Yes.
I just don't know what to say anymore. I'm frustrated.
I'm torn on this because at the end of the day, no, we should not be interfering with law enforcement, full stop. That is law enforcement. They're there to do their jobs. If a police officer pulls over somebody, that police officer has that right. That person should pull over, stop, and abide by the rules. It's the law. Also, with that, these ICE agents, the protocols around how they stop people, how they approach people is so unclear. And whenever you have protocols that are unclear, there is a lot of interpretation, there's a lot of gray, there's a lot of confusion. Right now, emotions are heightened. If I was pulled over by an unmarked car, first of all, I don't know if I would stop. Mm-hmm. I'm a U.S. citizen. My father was born in Panama. My mother was born in Mexico. They are both U.S. citizens. But if an unmarked car was pulling me over, I have nothing to run from. I'm a U.S. citizen. I have my driver's license, no problem. But I don't know if I would stop. And then if I stopped and some men started running towards my car aggressively with masks, yelling at me, I'm not sure I would act so willingly to just, oh, yes, of course, I'm going to abide by the law. I would hope that in those moments I would stay, clear-headed. But the way this is going about needs to stop. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's if our elected officials need to say, we will arrest you. Because that is not necessarily
it's inciting more.
That is not bringing calm. It is not reassuring Texans to say, you are safe. We are working to make you safe. Instead, it is saying, we're going to come after you. And that is who exactly? Because we have seen ICE pull over U.S. citizens. Mm-hmm. So
we have seen, and I'm just curious, when you say the story you said of if you were driving and they were, now put your children in the car with you.
It's
what
terrifying.
Are you going to do? Yeah.
It's terrifying.
And you shouldn't be terrified.
And that's another layer. So if I was being pulled over and my kids were in the back, they'd be scared. I go back to the fact that we absolutely should not be interfering with law enforcement. However, we have some real questions about how ICE is going into communities, and we need clarity and transparency regarding the protocols of what ICE has jurisdiction to do.
Yeah.
Again, 713-440-8870. We do have a call on the line. Olive from Montrose. Olive, welcome to Hello Houston. What is your comment or question?
Well, number one, I think it seems unclear how it is determined by ICE that someone is so-called interfering. What is their definition of interference?
Right.
That's very unclear. It is also true that in any case, I think every American citizen, or even anybody who's not an American citizen, has the right to not come to their door. I'm understanding that ICE is now beating down doors and hauling people out of their homes. I think they're way overstepping the boundaries of constitutional protections for human beings.
You can go down quite a hole online seeing videos of these things happening. Now, granted, they are just moments of it. They are just parts of it. But you're seeing them go into homes, reach into cars, doing things that I don't think we ever would have thought we would be having going on in this country.
And I want to echo something that you said, Ernie. I myself am very sad. As somebody who's lived in other countries and have felt a lack of, I'm not sure if something were to happen, if I could trust the police or if I could trust that somebody's going to even show up, or I'm not sure about safety. Being in this country, one of the things that makes this country so great is that you can feel safe. And the fact that we are now looking at our constitutional protections, as this lady just used the word constitutional protections, is a very sad time.
I worry also. Oh, thank you for your call. I don't want to keep you hanging on the line.
Yes, thank you, Olive.
I also worry. We talk often about my mom, and she has a caregiver, and her caregiver, who was born in Texas but is of Hispanic origin, when she and my mom go out somewhere, I worry, what if Merlinda is pulled over? What if my mom can't explain who she is or why she's there? And I would assume our caregiver would be very concerned about her own self in that situation. What happens? You know, there's so many ramifications from this because of the way it's being, I feel. And if I'm wrong, please call and tell me. If we are misunderstanding how these people are decided upon that they are going to be the target of this, because I don't see any rhyme or reason to it a lot of times.
And this is the other part of it, right? It's very easy to say, well, law enforcement, if you see what's happening from what we are witnessing, they are going into communities. How would you feel if you were in your neighborhood and I think ICE unmarked cars started coming and questioning you and pulling your kids over if you have high schoolers and it is, as Americans, everybody should want to know what is going on with the government.
Yeah. They often talk, we're getting rid of the worst of the worst. And I have seen a video of a DoorDash person who went to someone's house and ICE was following them. They ran into the house and they wanted to stay in the house, and they were a U.S. citizen. And ICE had surrounded the house. And it's just like, I don't understand the fear tactic. There has to be a way to get this under control. 713-440-8870. Linda, what's on your mind today?
Well, I'm a retired high school teacher, and I have real concerns about whether I can believe ICE any longer. I've seen too many snippets of the way they talk to people, especially since the shooting of this lady in Minnesota. And I don't, if you say you can observe them, and I think they ought to be able to be observed as I was observed when I was a teacher. There was a window in every one of our classrooms. We could not keep ourselves away from the public. Why do they wear masks? And I'm concerned that they're going to call someone who is observing them an obstructionist somehow, and then do what they will. Because what really bothers me, it seems like the authorities above them, which to me is straight up to Trump, that's where the buck stops, allows them to do whatever they want.
Linda, thank you. And thank you for sharing your concerns with us. Let's continue on the phone, 713-440-8870. Renee, what's on your mind?
Hey there. Yeah, my issue with what's going on is that I think there should be an expectation that the police, whether it's local police, state police, federal police, or ICE, should be acting in an orderly way, which follows standard police practices of how you detain someone, or and until they start doing that, the public is going to react in a volatile way. So, now we've kicked off, it's almost like a snowball effect where it just keeps getting elevated and elevated. But if we could, I expect the officials to set the standard of how to do things right. And then I think the public would be more receptive as to what's going on.
Thank you, Renee.
It's interesting because we understand that whenever you have police officers, our police officers, specifically here in Houston, go through extensive de-escalation training.
Right.
They understand approaching, for lack of a better word, they can read the room. And ICE just seems like they are going and just full bore and full charge. A part of this is the fact that under the One Big Beautiful Bill, we have had Tony Payan discuss this from an academic standpoint, looking at history. When you have a department within law enforcement grow in a very quick way, expand with very high money and very quick recruiting, there's a lack of training in the de-escalation. There's a lack of training of connecting with the community. There's, our police officers and our firefighters and our emergency management EMTs, they go through training to learn how to be there for the community. And this seems that that's not happening here.
Yeah. Let me just go back to the phone.
Yeah.
So much to say about it, but 713-440-8870. Joel, what's on your mind today?
Yeah, thank you for this discussion. It's wonderful. This was advertised by our president as getting rid of criminals and gang members, and almost all the people that are being detained are hardworking people. They're construction workers, they're small business owners, they're students, they're on and on and on. And I agree with one of the commentators that said, what is the definition of interference? Is interference just watching what's going on, blowing a whistle? Clearly getting in the way of ICE arresting somebody is interference. But we're going to get down to a gray area what interference is. My last comment is that this is a classic example of, for lack of a better word, a dictator does to separate us from them, okay? And right now we're seeing a military state being created that goes after them. And with the shooting in Minnesota, I think it suggests that it's us also.
Yeah.
And so this, to me, it's a prelude to something more ominous that's going on in this country. And I'm sorry, I tend to be a moderate, but I just see this way.
Thank you, Joel, for calling and sharing that. One point that you bring up that I do want to clarify, and it's part of the problem in all of this. When you say, all the people they seem to be apprehending, you didn't use the word apprehending, but my problem with it is we don't know who's actually being picked up. We see videos of certain people. We don't know of the sheer number of people that are being picked up. Maybe the bulk of what is happening is people who have been criminals, but there's no transparency. There's no way for us to know who is being picked up, what is the reasons they're being picked up, how many have been detained that are then immediately released, how many are detained days later. There's, back again, the word transparency. So we don't know what's going on. And when there is a lack of knowledge, there is fear. And that's what they're building.
We have, and this hits very close to home, we have a family friend who has had somebody who's worked in her home for a very long time. She's a young woman. She has some type of visa, and it was in the process of getting her visas. And she was apprehended by ICE, and she has a 4-year-old son, and she is sitting in a detention center in Conroe. And this person is somebody who has never had criminal activity. She has been she comes to work, she goes home. She, again, was in the process of getting her visas, and they won't release her. She's just sitting in a detention center in Conroe. They will not allow her to see her 4-year-old son. And I think that they don't even pay for your meals. You have to pay for your own meals if you want something other than, like ramen.
Yeah. Wow. Also, I mean, there will be the argument, and I do want to hear if we are misunderstanding from what we are seeing and hearing how this process works, and you have knowledge of what we are missing, please share that with us too, because I want to get educated on how this is happening.
Arnie, I think it's very clear. We're not misunderstanding it. And I understand the sake of argument to say maybe perhaps we're misunderstanding something, but I think that it's becoming very clear. And that is what, as Americans, we have to say, is that we want more transparency from our government in regards to what the protocols are. We have received a couple of YouTube comments. Charlie Parker, Texas says it's already illegal for that gentleman to do that. Don't know why you have to tell the police. The real police do their job. She probably was referring to something we were talking about earlier. Earl Grey T. Cat says it's not hard to see that peaceful protests opposing ICE are labeled violent no matter what they do. We did receive another text saying there should be no gray over some things that are not being properly reported. ICE officers do not have jurisdiction to do traffic stops. I'm saying otherwise is incorrect. I haven't seen the videos from San Antonio, but creating confusion over what officers are lawfully allowed to do helps no one. Yeah.
It is, yeah. And back to my point, it's that I want to believe that there are policies in place and that they are not articulated. Now, that doesn't justify the behavior we're seeing, but I just want to know if we're missing something in this conversation that would help illuminate the situations. I welcome that. But back to what you're saying, all we have is what we're seeing, and what we're seeing doesn't look good.
And the problem is that I think in this country, we have to have law and order.
Yes,
Nobody
absolutely.
is saying that we should not have law and order. If a police officer stops you, you should absolutely stop. If you are at an airport and TSA tells you something, you should follow the rules. I am 100% in alignment with following the rules. We are in dangerous waters whenever we're just not sure what the rules are.
713-440-8870. We'll grab one more call. Let's go to Daniel from Ireland. Daniel, what's on your mind?
I just wanted to add to the point of training. I mean, to get these officers, supposedly officers, on the ground, there's limited training, and most of the recruiting is just from far right-wing, where just fringe groups, sort of like the Proud Boys, who are taking this opportunity to get hired and then to flex their muscles on the individuals that they actually think are a problem. So there's actually no training and no vetting and no background checks on these individuals, just because they're trying to get as many people hired and get on the ground and try to enforce their rules. And then when you don't have any repercussions, as they say, immunity to any of their actions, these individuals then have the right just to, again, put their boots on your throat and, keep you pinned down. And I don't think that's right.
Daniel, thank you for that. We're going to move quickly just so we can get some other calls in here. 713-440-8870. Rosa from Montrose, what's on your mind?
Hi, so I had a question about how we're supposed to know who exactly is ICE if everybody's going around unmasked and in unmarked cars. Since a while ago, the FBI did come out with a statement a warning saying there are some people who are not part of the ICE agency dressing the same way, in the same unmasked and unidentified way, kidnapping people basically. How are we supposed to know exactly who is and who isn't part of this law enforcement group if they're all dressed the same?
Yeah, Rosa, that's a great point.
And we did receive a text that said, "Hi, Celeste. Julie here in Galveston. I totally agree with you in not stopping to an unmarked car. We just had someone impersonating an ICE agent and got arrested. Who knows what people are going to do?" So
thank you all for your calls and comments. They keep coming in more than we have time for today, but we know this is important to all of you in the community. You can continue to call. You can continue to text. You can also email us at talk@hellohouston.org. We'll return to this topic as it continues to be of concern to all of us. There's got to be a better way out there, Show some respect to people.
coming up.